Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer at jakestake.com, pop culture entertainment news website. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating and please subscribe. I am thrilled to welcome this next guest today. He is a comedian. He's the host of the Russell Howard Hour. He's also the host of the upcoming Wonderbox podcast. He is currently on it, starting October 4th, is touring across the United States with stops in New York City, Chicago, Boston, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. And as of this recording, he has over 706,000 Instagram followers and over 1.46 million YouTube subscribers. Please help me welcome Russell Howard.
Hello. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, Russell. It's a privilege to talk with you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolute joy. Absolute joy. Where are you?
You're talking to me from Avalon Park, Kansas, a suburb of Kansas City.
Nice, man.
Awesome. So one of the questions I love your material. It's fantastic. So what goes through your mind when you're preparing your set for not just only your shows, but also for like the Russell Howard Hour and also for Wonderbox?
So the main thing is I try, if it makes me laugh or it makes me curious, that's kind of where I go. I sort of follow my own nose a bit. So if it's something that kind of intrigues me, that's normally what I go for. I don't really like, I find it quite tricky when you've got to write prescriptive comedy and it's like, well, I better do a bit about X, Y, Z. It's normally, stuff that just catches me. So I've got quite a lot of stuff about Andrew Tate in the new show, and I've got a lot of stuff about Ukraine. But it's funny. But I find that trying to distill interesting things into comedy, I find fascinating. Like we have a big knife crime problem in the UK, and you've got like 8-year-old kids that carry knives in the UK, and it's so sad. And I had this line where I was like going, then they're not criminals, they're scared little boys. When I was 8, me and my brother once gaffer taped our assholes to see if we could fire out of our mouth. And for me, that's the perfect joke that explains that trauma in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's so sad that these kids have to carry knives. Remember when you were a kid, and then you do all that through a joke rather than having to explain, oh, it's so sad that these, I think a lot of comedy at the minute, particularly political comedy, just goes for clapter and forgets how important the laugh is, that the laugh really is the way of explaining the thought. It isn't the applause, I think.
I agree completely. I love to laugh, and especially I think the audience loves to laugh with you. 6 series of Russell Howard Hours. So how has the show evolved over the past couple series?
It's the same show every week with completely different news. So it's that thing that we write jokes about whatever is happening, and then I guess where it's evolved, we've had some of the guests we had. So we had Greta Thunberg on, who was really amazing, and the chat that we had with her was just a fun conversation with a young lady that underneath the brand of being Greta. So it was just this really fun chat with a very interesting young woman, rather than her having to kind of regurgitate all her kind of climate facts and knowledge. And it felt like it was a glimpse behind the curtain, really. Those are the kind of interviews I like doing. So rather than getting people telling their kind of pre-rehearsed PR stories, I kind of like getting to the root of things.
I agree completely.
And that's kind of what the podcast is about, really.
That's amazing. And
Sorry,
no problem. I gotta say, October 11th is a great day because you're launching Wonderbox. So how did you come up with the idea of Wonderbox?
So because everything is relentlessly downbeat, I kind of thought it'd be quite cool to have just a little oasis of joy. That was the aim, where basically I get people on to talk about things that they love. And then we kind of riff on that rather than things that piss you off. It's like, what do you actually adore? And then that becomes an interesting way of finding out about the person. Like John Oliver was on the show, and John was talking about a poppy seed lemon cake that his sister had made. We had Greg Davies, and he was talking about an ashtray that his nan had, because his nan didn't smoke, but she would kind of stub these cigarettes out in this kind of fish. Like she would pop the cigarettes in this fish, and this ceramic fish, and then the whole family knew that she smoked, and yet so it became a portal for him to talk about his nan. Neil Brennan was talking about ayahuasca. Guz Khan was talking about he once broke into a neighbor's house and ate butter. The point I'm making, it's like it's a really simple way of having a very honest chat with somebody, where they kind of give away a lot, because you say, hey, what do you love? And there's so much bravery in saying what you love, because it's really easy to say the things you hate. But when you have to stand behind an album you love, or a person you love, or a film you love, or a comedy special you love, or a football team you love, whatever it may be, it takes real balls to kind of say why you love something. It's like when you were a kid and you said, what music do you like? You're so scared, because if you get it wrong, you're done. Do you know what I mean? And it's so depressing that being proud of things you love is scary. It shouldn't be that way,
I totally agree. I get moments where I'm like, oh, am I really going to say that name, or if I'm going to really say her name with my music, or did I say, should people leave this person alone or that person alone? Because it really sucks that we're in this place right now that we have to defend ourselves. But like when you talk about, I love this concept of where you have, these are not where people normally talk about. Like having their, like John Oliver's poppy seed, sisters, lemon poppy seed cake. I'm very intrigued by that.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. So then that subsequently becomes a chat about love and a chat about pride, and the fact that he went to see his sister in a bakery in Paris, and he couldn't believe that his little sister, who he once held in his arms, could now make something so delicious. So it became this kind of lovely, funny story about family. And then you realize how family is really important to John, because, if he's as famous as he is, it's kind of lovely just to spend time with people that knew you before you were John Oliver on Last Night Tonight, So that's what I mean, that it's through that mechanism, you can have a conversation with people and really get to know them, rather than, so do you like your family?
Absolutely. Those are definitely questions. Like I rather have those questions of like descriptions, like what you talk about, instead of like the point blank. But like, I gotta say this, I am so excited that you're coming to the US. So what are you looking forward to the most about performing in the United States?
Sorry, mate, you froze for a second then. What did you say?
All right. I'm so sorry. Let me just repeat my question. I am so excited that you're performing in the United States. So what are you looking forward to about your upcoming US tour?
I just love doing stand-up and traveling. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the different Americas, and the way that the show kind of evolves throughout America, because I've been touring in the UK since March. So we've done 125 shows. We've done like 300,000 tickets. So I've kind of put it through England. So now I want to put it through America and see which bits connect and which bits have to fall away. It's kind of, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to an American assessment like that. So I can then kind of make the special at the end and kind of just make it better and smoother, But it's so fascinating because it's worked so well and the reviews have been great in the UK. And then it's just saying, okay, does it cross the pond? Does it make sense here? And some bits will, and some bits inevitably won't. And that's what's so funny to me, that you just go, God, that bit is so funny in the UK, but it just doesn't work here. Or, wow, that bit really lands, or a new bit will really land, It's
and absolutely. And like, here's the thing. New York audience might accept this joke, and Atlanta audience might not.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it just makes you better as a stand-up. Like if you gig in the UK and America and Europe and Australia, you just figure things out, and it just makes you better because you get that kind of street level knowledge of what it's like, rather than Googling what America's like. You can I was in LA and just seeing I remember seeing there was a homeless family in a tent, and they were next to a hotel for dogs. And it was this kind of amazing snapshot of madness, that there's a hotel for dogs, but the family have to live on the street in a tent. And that's really sad, but there's definitely dark comedy about how fucked up this incredible country is that it allows that. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of,
oh yeah,
it's that thing. Whereas in the UK, we still think of LA as like Hollywood and everything's amazing, and yet you spend time there and you're like, wow, there's so many homeless people, and it stinks of weed and piss.
Oh okay. Yes, tell me about it. I just got back from Los Angeles, and I was in Santa Monica, and you could definitely tell the smell of weed and piss were there.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So it's knowing that is so much funnier than trying to rely on kind of stereotypes that you've garnered from the internet. Do you know what I mean? That feeling of, I don't know, just being in amongst it. That's what I love about traveling and doing stand-up. You just, I don't know, you just get a feel for a place and you understand it a bit more.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have accumulated over 700,000 Instagram followers and over 1.4, almost 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. So what have been some of the strategies that you and your team use to build that social media following?
Just clips, really. So we've just like clips from stand-up shows on Netflix. So I've done 2 specials on Netflix. So I did one called Lubricant and one called Recalibrate. And we just cut those up and put those on, and then all the clips from the Russell Howard Hour or Good News and or Taskmaster, whatever it may be, and then you just put them out. And it's kind of, that's been my approach. I don't really want to be one of those comics that has to kind of tell everything about my day. It's like, I really like Kendrick Lamar. I don't want to see Kendrick Lamar ironing. I don't want to see him ordering breakfast. I just want to, but when he's got an album or a single, I want to hear about it. And I think that's what I love about social media from an artistic point of view, is that it's my job to put out kind of comedy. And that's it. For me, I've got no problem with other people doing it. It's just, I just couldn't imagine how exhausting it must be to be constantly curating your brand. Whereas I'm lucky, I get to live my life and go, hey, let's put that bit out that we did 4 years ago, because it links to a story that's happening in the news now, and then it gets this second life on like TikTok or Insta or YouTube or whatever it may be. And then, it helps you sell tickets. So that's it, really. It's just been clips. I think if I were to give a bit more of myself, it might kind of blow up a bit more, but then you lose yourself and you're having to have this kind of dual existence where, like, I really like eating my breakfast when it arrives. I don't want to have to take a photo of it. Like, do you know what I mean? And I don't want to have to arrange it in a certain way. If it's on my plate, it's getting eaten. Like, I just kind of, I'm not that kind of guy.
To quickly counter, really quickly, I do take photos of my stuff, but like
No
only
judgment.
when only when it's out of town, or like when I think that I like what I cooked. And that's basically it. And I rarely do that anymore, Russell.
But also, Jacob, it's absolutely fine. I'm just sort of saying, for my point of view, it's kind of that just isn't. It would be inauthentic of me to do that. If I was a foodie and I loved it, and I'm super proud of it, or I thought it looked great, absolutely, and it's clearly authentic to you. I think that's the key to social media growth. You've got to be yourself, and I think people understand if you're not. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and also I struggle a bit with bragging. So it's kind of, particularly being English, like let's say I had a really nice meal, or I've got like a private jet back from a gig. I don't want to take a photo of that because English people would be like, this guy's a dick. Whereas I'll send them to my wife, and she can tell me I'm a dick. So I don't need the internet really for that.
I just want to let you know I have 2 last questions to ask you. Are you ready?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Say that again, sorry.
Okay, I have 2 final questions to ask you. Are you ready for them?
I am, yes.
All righty. So, Russell, why should my audience check out the Wonderbox podcast? And for my American audience, if you're touring in their towns, why should they see you?
Because it's a really funny show, and I think they'll have a great night. The gigs have gone so well in the UK that I've managed to make people cry with laughter. I've made a couple piss themselves, and one lady gave birth. So it's gone all right so far. So yeah, if you fancy really laughing, then I'm your man.
Awesome.
And the podcast basically is hopefully a bit of a sort of a palate clearer for the rest of the world. It'll just be people that you've heard of or may not have heard of talking about things they adore for about 50 minutes. So it'll be a nice, hopefully upbeat break from the tyranny that is existence.
I totally agree. And where can they find you on social media?
So if you want to come to the tour, you can get tickets at www.russell/howard.co.uk, and then Russell Howard at Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all that kind of malarkey. But yeah, come along to the tour. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeart. It's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, and also Threads. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And for more interviews and what's going on with Masked Singer, and if you missed anything from America's Got Talent, head to jakes-take.com, jakes-take.com. Russell, it was a privilege to talk with you today. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Jacob. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great one. Goodbye.